All right, so tonight we have in the studio with us a very wonderful personality who is doing quite great work, and we would want to showcase that work on the interview tonight. Dr. Carlton Williams is the founder and lead pastor of High Life Church in Lagos, a new generation faith community building leaders to serve their community and nation with strength, courage, and joy. He is the founder and president of Niara Africa, a transformational change vehicle focused on raising leaders that bring solutions to businesses, government, and social enterprise through inspired innovation. He is also the chairman of Lifeblood Nigeria, a nonprofit engaged in blood administration services with a view to closing the blood donation gap in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Dr. Carlton Williams.
All right, welcome to the studio. I am so glad that you're here with us today. And
well, thank you.
There you go.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a privilege to be here.
All right, you're doing some great stuff, and I want to hear all about it. So, what is Lifeblood? What is that about?
Okay, I mean, Lifeblood is an NGO that we set up in 2016. And the focus of Lifeblood is to close the blood donation gap in Nigeria. Nigeria has very chronic issues in terms of blood supply. So Lifeblood was created or set up in response to that. And we really want to do three different things. The first is we want to change the prevalent culture when it comes to blood donation, because we have very few people comparatively giving blood. And then secondly, we want to make sure we have a blood donor database so that we can respond to chronic needs for blood supply. And then lastly, we really want to get involved in the whole space in terms of blood administration services. So in summary, and I can get into the detail a bit later, but in summary, that is what Lifeblood is about, and that is what we're here to do.
So tell us, thank you for that. Tell us about the shortage in Nigeria. What does that look like? What are the baselines? What do we have right now happening in Nigeria in terms of blood donation?
Okay. Now the WHO's guideline is that for any nation to be able to meet its minimum blood supply needs, there needs to be a donor base of at least 1% of the population. Okay, so Nigeria currently has 206 million people. So ideally, you need 2 million donors every year, at least donating once a year. Now, from all estimates, when we did our initial blood report, we did an investigation in 2016, we discovered that at best, the best estimates, only about 30% of the donor needs are actually met by current blood supply, 30%. So that's chronic, okay? And remember, the 1% is a minimum. So 1% of, then it was like 180 million or so, was like 1.8 million donors, but we were getting less than 30% of that. And the thing about chronic blood supply shortage is that it's a silent killer, okay? So for instance, in 2015, there was a report, again by the WHO, that Nigeria had the highest number of maternal deaths in the world, the highest number of maternal deaths. And maternal deaths are, a woman who's given birth, and because of some kind of complication or the other, the child dies, or the mother dies rather, or anything within 42 days of delivery, the mother dies. Now, when you look at that, what they found out was that the main cause of maternal mortality was postpartum hemorrhage, so bleeding, and the largest cause of death as a result of that is a lack of blood supply. Okay, so all we hear is someone went to hospital to give birth and they died. But when you look at it, you find out that it's as a result of a lack of blood. Malaria in the world, 96% of all malaria deaths are in Africa. And 80% of those deaths are in the age 0 to 5 years old. So a large proportion of kids die in Africa due to malaria. Now, when you look at it, when you interrogate it, we find out that a lot of times they need life-saving, and they have life-threatening anemia. They need emergency transfusion, and the blood is not available. So we just see the statistic, but when we interrogate it, we find out it's a result of lack of blood. You have accidents on the road. People get rushed to hospital. Oftentimes, they need transfusion. So Nigeria we're in a chronic situation, and it needs to be dealt with urgently and rapidly. Okay, so that is where we are right now. That's where we are right now.
Wow. So people die. So when we hear about this maternal death, after birth deaths, and you're saying that there's a correlation to the loss of in availability of blood, right? Who is
absolutely, because the largest cause of maternal death is bleeding, is postpartum hemorrhage, and the reason why that often leads to death is if there isn't enough blood to replace the blood during emergency surgery.
Wow. And this is data that is available publicly. And who's keeping this? Does the Nigerian government release this data, or is this WHO giving us this information?
Right. Now, WHO is given the information because WHO, this postpartum stats I just gave you came out of a WHO report in 2015, I believe. But you see, when we got involved in this space, the very first thing we did was we carried out an investigation of the actual state of blood, the blood landscape in the nation. So we carried out an investigation. Because there is a national blood transfusion service, which manages blood administration. So we did an investigation. And it was then that we discovered how chronic the situation was or is. Because at the time, and just stop me if I, if you have another question, but.
No, this is interesting. Please go ahead.
Yes. What we discovered was that, and this was in 2018, what we discovered was that the operational revenue or the operational costs of the National Blood Transfusion Service was being funded by PEPFAR. PEPFAR was a fund started by the U.S. government, George W. Bush. It's the president's emergency relief emergency plan for aid relief. Yeah, this was started in 2003. And as a result of PEPFAR, Nigeria received some money over a 10-year period, which ended in 2018. Now, 90% of what was funding the operational costs of the National Blood Transfusion Service was PEPFAR's funding. So when PEPFAR dried up, there was nothing substantial that was coming to drive blood administration in Nigeria. So you can imagine that. Now, Lagos has its own blood transfusion service, and Lagos is doing its own thing. So in terms of national support in dealing with the problem, we have very little. I mean, there's very little support for the system. But anyway, as a result of that investigation, we published a blood report, because the original question was about data. Yeah. So we published a blood report, yeah, and circulated that, and that became very quickly a benchmark report that has been referenced. We circulated that. This was in 2016 that we did this. And it basically just looks at the whole landscape of blood donation in Nigeria, the issues, what needs to be done. So in terms of data, there's very little data. There's very little data out there, and that is part of one of the things that has to be done if we're going to bridge that blood gap in an appreciable way.
Wow. So how long did the investigation take, and what was the findings?
So say that again.
Findings? How long did the investigation take, the study, and then what were the findings?
Okay. Excellent. The investigation took about 4 months. It required us interviewing the National Blood Transfusion Service, headquartered in Abuja. We also went around to different hospitals, the Luth and interviewed doctors there, etc. And of course, the key findings were our ability to quantify, first and foremost, the scale of the problem. Okay, the fact that we have less than 30% of what's needed. And then secondly, you see, when we got into this, you see, our original plan was to just raise awareness, just let everyone know that, we need to respond to this need, and sort of take off the covers, if you like, and show the real impact of the lack of blood supply. That was our original plan. But when we got into it, we realized that if we're going to make a real difference, we have to do more than raise awareness. We have to get involved in the space. And it was as a result of the report that we decided that apart from raising awareness, we need to focus on changing culture, our culture towards blood donation. We need to get involved in, it's like a vertical integration strategy, if you like. We need to get involved in the space, because if you say to people, go donate blood, the natural response will be, where do I go? Okay. And there isn't currently in the system anywhere for people to give blood apart from hospitals. Yeah. You don't have blood donor centers where people can just walk in to give blood. Now, of course, you can go to the hospital to donate blood, but most people don't like going to hospitals, and hospitals are not set up for customer service, and I mean, a professional clientele that wants to walk in, they're not set up for that. They're set up for emergency services. So we discovered very quickly that if there's going to be a real change, there has to be a change of culture, and we have to get involved in the space. We need, it can't be a public sector issue. In terms of enlightened self-interest, professionals need to get involved in the space and create much more than just raising awareness. We need to look at the whole chain and actually provide solutions on every step of that chain.
How would you?
So all this came out of the report.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was saying that all this came out of our investigation and the report we produced.
During this investigation, did you recognize any cultural norms that would impede the blood donation process at any part of that process, either in donating the blood or contributing to it? Or, however, did you find any cultural norms, anything in the culture that prevents people from doing that?
Well, absolutely. I mean, there's so many general across the world issues, roadblocks to donating blood, but there's some very specific to our culture. So naturally, there's a fear of syringes. There is, I'm giving my blood away. I mean, what about my blood? I need blood for myself. Now, of course, with education, you can deal with those because whenever you give blood, in fact, if you have a regular habit of donating blood, you will actually be healthier because your blood gets replaced every 3 to 4 months. With fresh blood from your bone marrow, and it actually makes for a healthier life. So these are general issues, but in terms of our culture, there's a lot of fear about, okay, how is this blood going to be used? Is it going to be used for fetish purposes? There is that real fear. Some religious sects have issues with donating blood, but really the primary thing here is there is the fear. It's not a regular thing to donate blood unless in an emergency. And then there's the fear that, okay, my blood is being taken from me. Where is it going? How is it going to be used? And that is a real fear that we need to that needs to be overcome.
So how do you address those fears, though? How would in your awareness campaigns, how do you address those?
Okay, good. Well, what we have done, because when we started, just to give you a brief history of our journey, we started with the investigation, and we discovered the scale of the need. And then we felt that, okay, in order to make any difference, we need to get involved in the space, raise awareness, but also get involved in this space. Yeah. We partnered with High Life Church and then also with the Australian High Commission. We got some funding from the Australian High Commission to do a pilot, a very focused pilot in an area of Lagos, Ekpe. Ekpe is an area of Lagos. So we started with that pilot to demonstrate what we can do as an organization. So what we did was we went into the community and we went into centers of influence. So faith communities. We spoke to pastors, and shared this with them. And they allowed us to come into their congregations to do presentations. Okay. So we tailored the presentations to the audience that we're dealing with. So as a faith community, we highlighted the responsibility, of being your brother's keeper. Yeah, we showed from scripture why you shouldn't be afraid. We did blood donation drives and had the pastors themselves lead by example. Okay. By donating blood themselves. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So they led by example. They donated blood. Everyone saw them donate blood, and they, realized that they didn't fall over or anything, and that encouraged more people to get involved in the donation in the donation process. So so that was how we addressed some of these fears. Now, in terms of a more sort of educated demographic, just raising awareness, because in Lagos we have a lot of people who are repats, expats who are very internationally aware. Raising awareness of the need resulted in a response, and then just creating an environment where it was easier to donate blood. So we had these blood drives. We had professional people, phlebotomists. We did things with proper, customer service. So that helped deal with some of the terms of donating blood.
Okay. There's a screen share. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I see. And the person is
so we have these blood drives, and we use that for, and they're smiling. So we got this out there. We had some people that others knew were quite popular in that in this environment to donate, and we advertise that. So all that helps in letting people know that, okay, it's safe to do this. It's a professional service, and yes, so that's how we dealt with. And of course, we produced material also in local languages, because that's very important. We produced material in local languages. We produce materials in Pidgin. You want to save one life? Oh yeah, make them three.
Make them three. I love it.
Make them three because one donation can actually save up to 3 lives. We did material in Yoruba, and just to raise awareness and to let people know that this is not just a responsibility, it's a privilege that we should all engage with.
Okay. Do you want to save somebody?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
You want to save somebody? Then why don't you save 3 people?
Why don't you save 3 people? And so donating. Yes. Okay. How many pints of blood do you need to donate to save 3 people?
Well, just the 1 pint. Now, the thing with blood is that the whole process, it's a highly specialized process. There is the pre-screening, because everyone that's going to donate needs to fill out a questionnaire, because there's some people that are not eligible to donate. There's some checks that are done, in terms of, your hemoglobin level, your weight, your, blood pressure, things like that. And then you go through the donation process, okay, where a phlebotomist bleeds you. It takes about, 30 minutes or so. You'll be bled. And then, blood, there's a whole blood only lasts for about 35 days. And there's a cold chain that must be maintained, 2 to 6 degrees. The blood needs to be tested for TTIs, transmittable infections, tested for HIV, syphilis, Hep B, and then if it passes that test, then it's available for distribution. Yeah. Now, with whole blood, like I said, it only lasts for 35 days, but whole blood can also be, the components can be separated, okay, and used for different things. So there's platelets, there is the plasma, there is, so it can be separated into different components, and those components can be used for specific things, right? So you have so it can be used for specific things to save several lives. So 1 pint that you donate can actually save more than one person. And that's the reason for the campaign.
Okay. All right. There's a lot of work. I'm just thinking about the enormity of what you're trying to undertake. So the question then is, who are your partners? Who are you partnering with?
Mm-hmm.
Who is helping with this? And I have a follow-up to that. So let's answer that first. And I'll actually, before you answer that question, why don't you tell us what the scale of for Lifeblood, what is the scale for this project for Lifeblood? And then who are your partners? And there's a question I'll ask, somebody in the audience asked a question, so we'll ask that later. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, like I said, when we began with a pilot. This is a pilot just to, get our toe in the water, as it were. And our original partners were High Life Church and also the Australian High Commission. Okay. Now, when we did the pilot, we were able to demonstrate different things. We were able to demonstrate that this is possible. This can be done. This is a problem we can solve. Yeah. We're able to demonstrate that. And the other thing about this space is that it needs to be done in a sustainable way, because it's an expensive process. It needs to be done in a sustainable way. So there has to be a business model, if you like, that ensures that it is sustainable. Yeah. When I say business model, it's still an NGO, but we need to make sure it's sustainable. So we started working on, okay, how can we make this sustainable? Because you can't just keep asking for money. It's an expensive process. In 30 days, all the blood that has been collected will be used, and you need to start again. So we're looking at, okay, how do we make it sustainable? So I would say that the pilot was very successful. But what we discovered at the end of it, we've decided that, okay, we need to step back a little bit. And what we're doing now is like a relaunch, if you like, because we stepped back for a bit. Because if we're going to make a real difference, there's some fundamentals that have to be in place. We need a minimum amount of investment to enable us to do some key things. Okay. So right now we are looking for partners. We're looking for partners that would work with us in setting up the baseline to make sure that we can have something that is sustainable. It's a big project. And as you know, to eat an elephant, you eat it a bite at a time. So it's like we're trying to dimension this and start on a small scale, but have it sustainable as best as we can from scratch. But it'll take about 5 years to get it to that sustainability point, to be honest. But to get started, there's some minimum things that we need to do. So that's how I'll respond to that question.
For clarity, though, for that particular question, yes. I guess what I'm wanting to know is, yes, what does it look? Are you going to have a space where people actually come in to collect? Are you talking about equipment? Are you talking about a location? Are you talking about professionals being there? What exactly is Lifeblood doing, or is it just advocacy? Or so what? Okay. I guess that's what I'm trying to find out.
That's very good. Now, at a minimum, this is what we want to set up. Number one, the next thing we want to do now is publish a more updated blood report, because the last blood report was in 2016. I suspect that the situation is a bit more dire right now, a lot more dire, because we have more people and the PEPFAR funding has dried up. So we want to do another blood report. Then the next thing is we want to set up a donor center. Yeah, want to set up a donor center with the equipment needed. We already have a lot of it. but want to finalize the setup of a donor center, because that would enable us to, and of course, we'll get approval to be a registered blood bank from Lagos State. And that will give us the opportunity to be able to store and distribute the blood that we collect. Now, of course, you need staff. They don't all have to be permanent staff, but we need phlebotomists, we need nurses, and these are things that we have already done on our blood drives. We hired phlebotomists and nurses, for the blood drive, but now we need them on our books if we're going to be doing 3, 4, 5 blood drives a week. Yeah. So that would be and of course we need a whole to handle all that. So that would be the minimum structure to get up and running in an effective way. Yeah. Now, in terms of partnerships, we've explored partnership with, apart from the Australian High Commission, with the World Blood Fund. We're looking at international organizations that typically deal with government. But you see, we're in a unique situation in Nigeria, and from some of the meetings I've had, some of these organizations are sensitive to our challenges as a nation. So while they would naturally just deal with government, they're willing to start dealing with some credible NGOs and facilitating, their effective operation. So we're exploring those. So when we talk about partnerships, this has to be a campaign by Nigerians in the country, in the diaspora, people that are very interested in saving human life. I believe that through partnership, we can get equipment in, we can run a professional organization that actually moves the needle in terms of saving lives. Yeah, we are an NGO, so very transparent. This is not a for-profit business, even though I expect that we will get into blood services that can generate revenue to fund the NGO operations. Yeah, things like component separation, there's specialist blood services for people that have sickle cell anemia. There are services that people can pay for. Yeah, so I expect that as we go on this journey in our sustainability plan, we need to have that so that our donors know that that we're doing things in a way that can be expanded, because it's all over the nation that we need this. And if we're able to prove the concept effectively in Lagos, then we can set up in Abuja, we can set up in Port Harcourt, we can set up in Kaduna, and those would be like hubs to start serving a wider community.
Wow, I'm just so excited. This is such a much needed service in Nigeria. The question we have now is, how is the Nigeria, well, let me read it the way the person wrote it. So the question is, have you been able to approach the Ministry of Health to partner with the education arm to highlight and bridge the awareness gap via education? Yeah.
Yes. Like the national, like I said, when we did our investigation at a national and local level, Abuja is the federal capital, but Lagos is like the financial capital. Yeah. Now, the National Blood Transfusion Service, we interviewed the director, and I could see, it was very obvious that they were sort of overwhelmed by the scale of the problem. They didn't have enough of a budget to even begin to move the needle. Yeah. And the situation looked dire because they were actually coming to the end of the little they had. Yeah. Lagos is doing marginally better. And we've approached them also for partnership, but the priorities are are really about saving lives. So the awareness aspect is less of a priority, and they're looking at NGOs to bridge that gap. I mean, some of the things that we have done in the past is, to celebrate the World Blood Donor Day. I mean, we have billboards we put up across Lagos to talk about the importance of blood donation. And Lagos State actually helped, because the advertising promotion department allowed us to have the billboards up at a marginal cost. We've partnered with professional organizations to raise awareness. So in answering that question, we have approached government, but government's priorities are slightly different in the space, and they're looking to NGOs to bridge the gap, and in the spaces, like when we did the pilot in Ekpe, we actually got a citation from the local general hospital on behalf of Lagos State, because all the blood that was collected was actually donated to them, the local general hospital. And this was the first time they'd actually ever received any kind of help, external. Wow. So a citation was given.
Explain a citation, because it means different things in different places.
Oh, in different places. Okay. It's like a commendation. Let me put it that way. It was like a commendation to say that, because they came to the blood drive, they saw the level of equipment we had and the level of professionalism by our team, and this was done in their own local community. And as an organization, we wanted to donate that to the local hospital, and when we donated it to them, they were appreciative of it, and they actually gave us, on behalf of Lagos State, a commendation for doing that. Because there's a real need, and they began to see that, okay, people might be more receptive now that we've been able to get them to give blood. They might be more receptive to future blood drives done by the local hospital.
So you find that the first of all, one question I need to clarify before I ask this. Are you saying that the federal blood bank is no longer functional because the money ran out?
Well, the government more recently is trying to get it going again. You see, when we had the initial interview, and this was about 2016, 2017, as at that time, the National Blood Transfusion Service collected 63,000 pints of blood that year. In the whole national blood transfusion service network, they received 63,000. Now remember that you need at least 1% to even meet the need of the country. They collected 63,000. So most of the blood that I said accounted for 30% came from commercial donors, people who, an organization says, we'll pay you some money, give us your blood. Commercial donors, and of course, the WHO frowns on that. They recommend donation from non-remunerated donors, because a commercial donor is donating blood because they need the money. They don't have the incentive to tell you things about their lifestyle that might exclude them from being able to donate blood. So it's a high-risk segment to get blood from. So National Blood Transfusion Service got 63,000. The rest of it was commercial donors, and then also family replacement. Now, family replacement is a wife goes into hospital, she's going to have a baby. The hospital says to the family, there might be a need for blood transfusion. Give us blood for the blood bank. Absolutely. So it's family replacement, commercial donation, and and the little that the NBTS was able to do.
Your network is lagging again.
That's where the blood supplies came from.
Dr. Carlton, your network.
Oh, is it lagging? Okay,
yeah,
I'll swap.
Again. Maybe you want to swap. All right.
I'm gonna swap. Let's see how that works. Okay, I've swapped now. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sounds good. Okay. It sounds
excellent.
Good. So when you decide, when did you decide to start this project? And what was the genesis of it? Like, how did you decide to enter into this space? Yeah? Can you hear me?
Okay, that's a great question. When can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I said that's a great question. When my introduction was read, I pastor a church, and the whole focus of our church is about bringing change to society. It's about societal transformation. Okay, we want to get involved in bringing solutions to real problems. Yeah, I believe that's what the church is about. Now, myself and my family moved to Nigeria from the UK in 2007. And prior to being in Nigeria, while I was in the UK, I was a blood donor. I donated blood in the UK. So when we're looking at what we could do as a church to get involved in this space, it was very clear that we would set up an independent organization. So Lifeblood is not part of a church, it's an independent organization, but we're looking at areas to get involved in. And I had this thought to find out what was happening in the space, because I had never been approached to donate blood, and I just wondered what was going on. And that was when we started the investigation and saw the scale of the problem. And of course, the more we got into it, the more we realized that this is a cause that requires attention. So that's how I got involved in this.
Okay, so go back to when you donated blood in the UK, because not everyone donates blood. Mm-hmm. So did you just kind of wake up one morning and said, I'm going to donate blood? Or, I mean, what was it? What impressed you? What was it that said, this is what I'm going to do?
Well, at the time, I actually can remember the first time I did this, because I worked in the IT industry. I was working as a contractor, consultant in Thompson Holidays, it was, and Mornington Crescent. And, in the UK, the blood transfusion service goes to different organizations, and they will have a mobile unit outside, and the information just went out in the company that we're donating blood today, and would you like to give blood? And I thought, okay, why not? If it's going to save a life, why not give blood? And that's how I started that process. And I got my donor card, and they said I could give blood like 3 times a year, and and I'll be fine and stuff. And that's how the journey began.
Okay. But back then, taking that step to donate blood, you never knew that it was going to culminate in you actually having an organization that'll be focused on blood donation.
Right? Not at all. I had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea.
And so this whole idea of just taking one step and don't be afraid of trying something new in life. We talked about that in my wellness clinic today, because you never know where it's going to lead you. It wasn't like you woke up one morning and had an epiphany and had a revelation, and God said, my child, you're going to open a blood bank. That's not how this happened. And I love that story. It was one step towards life that has actually culminated right now into this huge project that you're undertaking into saving lives. And so I think there's a lesson to be learned from that. So what do you want people to do? What are you asking for people to do?
Well, as the banner says behind me, be a donor, be an ambassador, be a partner. To start off with, wherever you are, you can donate blood. So this is not just about Lifeblood now. It's about our responsibility and privilege, as human beings, to be able to save lives. You can donate blood as a woman 3 times a year, as a man 4 times a year, and you'll be better for it. Now, that's the first thing. Join us at Lifeblood if you're in Nigeria. Check out our website, get in touch with us so that when we're doing the next blood drive, we can call on you to donate blood. The second is to be an ambassador. Ambassadors are people who, advocate for the cause of Lifeblood in their organizations. We need ambassadors in different organizations to basically open the doors to those organizations to us. Yeah. But for where we are right now and what we are looking to relaunch in, we actually need partners. We need financial partners, people that will donate to the organization so that we can get the operations started effectively. We need partners, financial donors, or people who have connections with donor agencies. The World Blood Fund, the donor agencies that can maybe able to donate things like, provide funding like we got from the Australian High Commission, provide equipment, like mobile units, provide expertise that we can partner with on. So there's quite a lot. So we need that partnership. In terms of finances, I mean, in Naira, we're looking at between 30 and 50 million Naira to really have an operation that can be sustainable. And that's 30 to 50 million Naira is about, I think it's about $50,000 ish, that kind of amount, $50,000 to $70,000 or $50,000 to $9,000. So we're looking to raise those funds, but it doesn't have to be cash, because if we had access to donor agencies that have equipment that we need, mobile units, cars, that kind of stuff, it will get us going. And again, like I said, we're an NGO. We're very transparent in terms of what we do, and partnership also means that you have the opportunity to actually get involved with what we're doing in terms of strategy going forward. If you are a professional and an expert in this area, we're very open to getting, like we want to set up an advisory board, people that can partner with us in practical ways with their expertise. That is also something that we're looking at.
So you could have one person give you $50,000, donate $50,000 to the organization, or you could have 50,000 people give $1 each to the organization. And so if there's somebody watching and is saying, I want to be a part of this, and I would like to donate X amount, from the big ones to the small, to the little bit of money, where do they go? How do they donate?
Excellent. On our website, we have contact information, or you can send me a message directly, cwilliams at lifebloodnigeria.org, cwilliams at lifebloodnigeria.org. And we can talk about it, because if they're in Nigeria, we have accounts here in Nigeria that funds can be transferred to. If they're in the UK or in the US, we can work through. We have sort of partners there that can help us with getting funding across. So we're very open to having those discussions. But send me an email. We will have a discussion, and then we'll see how you can help and how we can make it easy for that to happen.
let's put that email in the chat box, please.
Yeah.
And also put it on the on Facebook for people to have access to that. So there is also, you don't have like a GoFundMe or Fundrise. You don't have any, you don't have that.
No,
is there a reason why we don't have that, or it's just not the trajectory of the project?
Well, we don't have that yet, but that's something that I will have as a follow-up. That's something that we will set up. Yes,
yeah, because I find that those GoFundMe, doesn't have to GoFundMe, but those types of money collection, I think they're so much easier for people because they will, you know, people just click on it and they donate. You can put it on Facebook and they donate. And for what you're doing, this is a major project. You need with all the monies, all the funds that can be donated should be donated. So if anyone is out there who wants to fund the 30 million naira? 30 million naira, send it. And if you have connections, also please reach out to Dr. Carlton Williams on the email that's been posted. I think it is. Yes, cwilliams@lifebloodnigeria.org. Thank you so much for your work that you're doing. I think there is a final question.
Okay.
First, when you're collecting blood, you collect blood for not just for certain people, it's for anyone. You're not just collecting because you said your pastor High Life. People might kind of connect that. You're not just collecting blood for a certain group of people, not just for Christians. No. It's for anybody. Can you clarify that just so people know?
Yes, I mean, like I mentioned, Lifeblood is not a religious organization. Lifeblood is, is an independent organization, and on any blood drive we do, our vision is to make blood available, safe blood available to our populace when they need it, where they need it, and then at a price they can afford. That is the vision of the organization. Want to increase the blood supply, want to reduce the cost of blood, and we want to do it in a sustainable way. Yeah. So far, I mean, what we've done in the past is we've donated to local general hospitals, like I gave the example of Ekpe, for instance. Local general hospitals. We have, because what we try to do is, because in order for it to be sustainable, there is a cost that has to be recovered one way or the other, either through donor funding or through reduced services in terms of pricing. So that's our whole vision, is just to make it sustainable. And it's not just for Christians, it's for everybody, really.
All lives.
All lives, yes.
All lives. All lives matter. Because we need blood. So thank you for joining. Is there anything else you would like to say? Anything else? Oh, did you freeze? Dr. Carlton, are you there? I think we froze for a minute. Dr. Carlton, are you there? I think we lost him for a minute. Let's wait. This is
his network.
His network. This is Nigeria, people. Just bear with us. He'll be back. And while we wait, anyone else has any questions, please unmute yourself or put in the chat box. He'll be back. We'll wait for him. Put in the chat box and we'll ask him before he leaves. Just have a few more minutes anyway. Gabriel, thank you for that question. Very good question. As a scientist, do you have any science question for us?
Yes, I will just introduce myself a little bit to put things in context. I work in a hospital laboratory.
Do you want to wait for Carlton to be here first, though?
Okay, I'll go to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that
Let me know when Carlton is back.
Okay. So that we so that you don't have to repeat yourself.
Yeah.
Has anybody been in touch with okay, he's here. All right, let us how do we get him back, Bims?
He's back. He's back.
I'm back.
So, okay, there you go.
Okay, good. Apologies for that. Got kicked off.
Yeah, I know. We explained to them that it's the network. It's network. All right. So I was talking with Gabriel, Mr. Labinger here, because he's a scientist, and if he had any question and he said he did, and so it was saying something while you were gonna. I had him wait. So Gabriel, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for being on the platform. Just to introduce myself, I'm a biomedical scientist for over 30 years. On a typical night, the whole laboratory, a university-sized hospital, at night is staffed by 4 major people. I'm a biochemistry. My other colleague is a transfusion scientist or transfusion practitioner, hematologist, and a microbiologist. So 4 of us hold forth the shop. So I have worked with the transfusion guys very closely for over 30 years. And as part of my master's degree, I did a whole module in blood transfusion. Carlton, I must congratulate you for delving into this. And my promise to you is I will go heaven and earth to make sure this becomes an actual reality. A lot of us came out of Nigeria to diaspora to learn our trade, and we hope to be able to contribute and bring things home. But I work with the blood transfusion guys every single day. So I like the way where you've allowed, you've given yourself time. And one of the things you touched on as a scientist is to lay a very solid framework to build on. And I believe once there's a very solid framework to build on, with the right strategy and everything in place, raising funds will not be an issue. The governments, NGOs, international NGOs will fall over you to make this work, but they need to see a very good structured framework, solid, which they can pass on to their people to look at, and they would come back and say, yes, these guys have done a solid job, we can support them. So from that point of view, well done. I like the way you're going about things, trying to model things with the WHO standard, and you can never go wrong that way. So thank you for the initiative. Thank you for Akindotso Marino for this channel to air this vision. I want to be an ambassador. I would like to be a partner. And I hope we can have many, many more of these meetings so that the world can hear you. We will get you onto a lot of spaces in the diaspora where you can articulate this vision very clearly and get people to support you. So yes, even without your permission, I make myself an ambassador, and we will drive this message forward.
All right.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Gabriel,
thank you very much. Thank you.
I thought it was a question.
Thank you very much for that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much for that. The partnership is vital. This is something that it needs to become a passion. It needs to become a campaign, for us to be able to make the kind of difference that's needed. It needs to become a campaign. So I'll contact you offline. We can discuss a lot more. We do have business plans that we have written with clear milestones and a sustainability strategy that we have in place. So I will share those with you, and we can discuss next steps and how we can move forward together. Thank you.
Wow, well, that's a great ending to this. Thank you, Dr. Carlton Williams, for joining me today. I hope you'll come back, and next time we'll actually host you in our studio so you can reach more people. And
excellent.
We wish you all the best with this. I'm really interested in what you're doing too, and I would like to, talk more about how we can collaborate when it comes to, because I'm for and I support anything that has to do with wellness, and this has to do with wellness. One of the things that I have gotten from this today is that I'm going to be a blood donor. I haven't donated blood in a while, and so I'll start doing that so that I can save some lives. So thank you, and we'll see you again. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you
for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.